Hi guys, thanks for tuning in. This is Gimme 10, 1975. And what a great year 1975 was. So many albums released in this year have become classics, it's amazing. Great example, the Johnny Hammond years. Of course, produced by the Missile Brothers, Fons and Larry, and they were really at the top of the game at that time. They also produced from Donald Byrd, Places and Spaces. I had to choose between the two. This time I chose this one. Maybe next time the other one, but this is a great album. Both albums are very good. Next album is also very much a jazz funk album. Eddie Henderson, Sunburst. Last time I also, in Gimme 10 1973, I also showed Eddie Henderson with Realization. And this is the follow-up album. Now he is signed to Blue Note, so this was his debut. And I think they also asked him to go in a little bit more of a funkier, or show his more funkier side, like they did with Donald Byrd. But still, this is more fusion-like. He really went his own direction. It's still using the same band as on Realization, so that is the Herbie Hancock septet. So that's the band that plays on sextant and on crossings. Only one person is missing, and that's Herbie Hancock himself. He's replaced by George Duke, and that's a nice bridge to the next album. Because that is a George Duke album. The Aura Will Prevail. This is also a great album from 1975. And for some reason I always thought it was a monkey. Now that I have the album and I can look more closely, I see it's no monkey at all. But still, now if I look at it, I still see a monkey. And this album has a nice mix of styles, what George Duke was doing before and the direction he went in later on. And this is really an in-between album, and I really like it for that reason. It's a little bit smoother as the previous ones, but there's still that more fusion-like playing. And he is of course doing a little bit experimenting with synthesizer. Also Frank Zappa is on this album. Some songs are co-written together with George Duke. And I think he plays on it, but I could not put one and one together because he's on a different name. But I could not get a hint from the back cover. So I don't know if I'm mistaken with the previous album or it's the same for this one. It's also true for this one. Of course, there were a lot of great soul albums released at this time. I have Melvin and the Blue Notes. Wake Up Everybody is a great example. This is just filled with classic songs. So you have Don't Leave Me This Way. But the song I want to play is Wake Up Everybody. That's just classic. And I mean, it's partly logical. It is produced by Campbell and Huff, who did the production and some of the writing. And the other songs are all written by Whitehead and McFadden. I mean, if you have those two production teams working together on one album, you must get a classic. And then of course you have Halbert Melvin and you have Teddy Pendergrass who do the singing. I mean, this is really classic stuff. It's of course released on Philadelphia. Beautiful album. Going back to the jazz. Or jazz funk, jazz fusion, Bobby Hutcherson. In 1975 he released Montara, which is a great album. He released it on Blue Note. And here you can, just as with George Duke and with some of the other albums I'm showing, they're really in between styles. You had the beginning of the 70s where he changed a little bit to what he's going to do in the later of the 70s, and 75 is really the pinnacle of that mix of different styles. Very nice. Still a little bit of funkiness, still a little bit of fusion, still a bit of jazz. This album reminds me very much of the album I want to show next, which is the album by Grover Washington Jr. Feels so good, and really this album makes you feel very good. It's produced and arranged by Bob James, so you get that same vibe as on Bob James albums 1, 2 and 3 and 4, but mostly 1, 2 and 3. The album is on Kudu, distributed by Motown Records. I didn't know there was a connection between Kudu and I thought it was CTI. This really has that funkiness of the bass. It's also very good. This album was the follow-up of Mr. Magic, and I think it would have been very hard to follow it up, but with this album, excellent. Next is a more pop album, pop soul. Minnie Riperton with Adventures in Paradise. And I think you only need a few notes to recognize it. It's a great album. Fun thing is, on this album, play the Crusaders, so you have Joe Sample on keyboards and Larry Carlton on guitar. The voice of Minnie Riperton is just so good. I think this album, I really think this is one of their best albums. Although in the 70s and the one before this one, it's all great. Next is a debut, a little bit surprising. I did not know 75 was their debut year. I know them more of their later output. This is a reissue. It's a reissue by Far Out Records. And I must say, it's also a great album. It has this jazz funk vibe, but they put it in their own mix. Much more Latin based. Some way it's a pity that they did not continue in this style, because I like it very much. So, we have the players, of course a lot of keyboards. They are experimenting a little bit with the Moog and with the synthesizers. And that's also true for the next artist. Marc Moulin. I think most people know Marc Moulin, as he was the founder of the group Placebo. And after Placebo 1, 2 and 3, the group split up and he went solo, and this is the album he made. So of course, a lot of electronica, keyboards, synthesizers, Moog, but it has a very nice vibe to it. The funkiness is there, the jazziness is there. He experiments a little bit much, I must say, because on the back side there's a duet between a hippo and the trumpet player. But still, it sounds good. It still sounds good. I hope sometime that I can find an original of this one. But till now I have not been lucky enough. In the last album we're already at 10. Earth, Wind and Fire. I wanted to show a soundtrack. I could not find a really good soundtrack of 1975. Officially this is also kind of a soundtrack. There's so many great songs on it. Yearning, Learning, Reasons, See the Light, Shining Star, That's the Way of the World. And I will finish with Happy Feeling. This also really, it really shows that in 1975 so many classics has been released. Gimme 10, 1975, a great year. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time. Goodbye.